we go. We have it now.
Well, now it's okay.
Right.
Very good, very good. So, as the topic for today is optimization of renewable energy integration, and as we told, we are going to explore some approaches in order to increase or to optimize the integration of renewable energy sources into existing system. So this is how we break the topic down. So we are going to see, first of all, an overview of renewable energy integration, and then to see that it is important to get committed and set important goals, and then which strategy and technical solution can help us in this optimization. And then we will see that it is important to set policies and regulatory guidelines, and then get local community engaged and get stakeholders involved. So, first of all, we're going to see the renewable energy integration. So, as I was saying, the electrical grid nowadays is facing a lot of challenges to come with some solution. The resource in this as it's advantage because we had a dependence on fossil fuel. So in order to reduce this dependence and also to get a more decentralized electrical grid, so it was very important to integrate renewable energy sources, as renewable energy sources give us the possibility to have various type of sources, such as we can have solar power plant at one side, wind power plant at one side, or also we can go for hybridization, like we can have a hybrid power plant, like a mixer between solar and wind, or between geothermal and solar, for instance. And also, this helps also to face the growing electricity demand. So without using more fossil fuels, so we can add we can add something more if the contribution for renewables. Also, it helps us to face some technical issues in the electrical grid, and also with renewable energy sources integration, we can address some environmental concerns such as the greenhouse gas emission, the CO2 emission, and also facing global warming, facing things like pollution, for instance. And the more is with our renewable energy sources, we have some economic advantage. So let us see the opportunities that are associated with our renewable energy integration. First of all, we have many alternatives. The alternative are the fact that there are many sources that we can consider. So this depends on the resources that are available in all areas. It can be solar, wind, it can be geothermal, it can be hydro, for instance. So they give us a lot of alternatives, and the sense that we can make different type of mix of them, or also we can try to integrate them at every moment. And another thing is the levelized cost of energy. The levelized cost of energy is the ratio between the amount of energy that we are producing and the cost for producing this energy. So in this cost, we will include the installation cost and also the operation cost. So imagine that we are integrating renewable energy sources. So with renewable energy sources, we can produce energy without spending money in fuels. So this will help us a lot in decreasing the overall cost of the energy that we're providing to users. And also at the same time, this will help to increase the access to energy. Remember that the goal is to have the energy accessible for everyone in the world. And this is by 2030. And at the same time, when the grid are penetrated by the renewable energy sources, the grid is getting more reliable. So this is a way to enable the reliability enhancements of the grid. At the same time, we are reducing greenhouse gases emission. Perhaps there are some challenges that are still associated with the integration of renewable energy sources. First of all, we have the variability mitigation and unpredictability management. Sometimes people used to think that those two things are the same, but there is a little bit difference. For instance, when we are addressing variability, some renewable energy sources are valuable because, for instance, if we are considering the solar resources, at this moment, we can have a sunny day, but the next hour, it can be cloudy. It can be cloudy due to some climate condition, things like that. But this happens also in wind. The wind speed is not constant. For instance, at the second, we can have a wind speed like 11 meters per second, but and the next instant it will drop at 7 meters per second. So this is the variability. But the unpredictability is the fact that today can be a sunny day. So because of that, we cannot say that tomorrow will also be a sunny day. Or if we have a high wind speed right now, we cannot tell that the next hour we will have also a high wind speed. So we cannot predict the behavior of the availability of the resources at 100%. So due to that, it is unpredictable, and also due to that, we cannot be sure about our production. So this is a problem, but we can, there are techniques in order to address this problem. And at the same time, we have to provide an energy with high quality to the grid. So the challenges is the power quality improvement at the same time. And we are facing some problem with technology maturity, for instance, but there are a lot of sources with very mature technology, but the only thing is we are facing a problem of efficiency right now. Imagine that in solar, we are still at 19% of efficiency, 20% of efficiency. Imagine that we could reach 30%, 40% with solar. So with a given surface, we will be able to harvest much more energy. We have to find the convenient expertise and also get some more stakeholders to get involved, like investor, like founders, local community. So we have to convince people in order to get interested in a renewable energy project. And also the challenges are addressing social and environmental impact assessment, because most of the time in some project there is a lack of interest in social and environmental impact assessment, and because of that some projects are getting slowed and sometimes they are blocked. So it is important to consider that in order to avoid social and environmental concerns. Now, we have considered all of this. It is important to get some goals or to some goals that are already set target. This should be a common goal for everyone, like limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, and also try to increase the renewable energy fraction in our systems. So this will help us to reduce the cost of energy dramatically, and at the same time increase energy access. So once we know that it is important to optimize the integration of renewable energy sources, or better, to accelerate this process. So it is important to get ourselves involved and to set some sustainable goals. But to do that, we're not going to do that one by one. We are going to do that together as one. So this is possible, for instance, through some international summit, for instance. So at this time, we have the possibility to update available information and knowledges or techniques through debates, conferences, publication, brainstorming, publication of books, of articles, discussion forum, workshop, research work, and annual report. And this will be made by ourselves, who are stakeholders, decision makers, policy makers, researchers, students, general public, government, provider, and so on. So as a sustainable goal, we can consider, for instance, the sustainable development goals that are already set, and this aims to ensure the access to affordable and clean energy for all, and this by 2030. Inside this SDG, we have 5 points, and these 5 targets are, first of all, to get the modern energy accessible for everyone, and increase the renewable energy share in entire world. At the same time, double the improvement of that it is not only to increase the electricity share or the renewable energy share, it is also important to be responsible in the consumption. So we have to be some responsible consumers. So this will help us to decrease the losses, to decrease the risk, and at the same time to improve the energy efficiency. Also, it is important to promote access to research, technology, and investment in clean energy. So, committed into this process in order to accelerate the process of decarbonization, the process of integration of renewable energy sources. And then the last point is to expand and update energy services for developing countries. Now, we can consider some scenario, milestones, and goals. And the scenarios are already set up. For instance, we have let us see. For instance, we have the net zero emission by 2050 scenario. This is like a pathway in order to achieve the net zero emission by 2050. So this is not the way 2050 will look like, but this helps us, this gives to all of us the possibility to imagine or to consider the future where we have a net zero emission. Also, this will be possible not only with the reduction of greenhouse gases emission or CO2 emission, but this will be helped by the carbon removal process. The carbon removal process is like when we are aspiring the air, and through a chemical process, we are taking back the CO2, the carbon dioxide, and we get it in ground cave, for instance. In other scenario that we have the announced the pledge scenario. That is a scenario which assumes that all climate commitments made by governments and industries around the world by the end of August 2023, this will be met in full and on time. So it is important to respect this commitment made by governments. So this is the announced pledges scenario, and the gap between this scenario and the scenario for the net zero emission. This gap is called the ambition gap. So it is the difference between what the governments have set and what we have as a goal and this scenario, that is the net zero emissions. Also, we have the Paris Agreement, for instance. The Paris Agreement is like a legally binding international treaty that provides a pathway for developed nations to assist developing nations in their climate mitigation and adaptation efforts, while creating a framework for the transparent monitoring and reporting of countries' climate goals. So therefore, it is important that every 5 years, each country they have to submit, each country has to submit an updated national climate action plan. So it is important. So this is the nationally determined contribution. So this is something that should be done, that must be done every 5 years. Now, it is important to call people to get themselves involved in renewable energy stories and sustainable stories. So with respect to SDG 7.4, that aims to promote access to research and technology, and also an investment in clean air energy. So we're going to see that this will help us to address research and to get focus on research and development, and this will allow us to bring some technological innovation, and through that we'll have the possibility to create some cross-functional team in order to better approach all the challenges that are linked with renewable energy integration. For instance, we can have a team with people with background in social, environmental, and engineering to better address this concern. And it is an opportunity for capacity building, and also we will have the possibility to set or to support that already exist. And we have the possibility to learn from successful case studies. So with this, we have the opportunity to adapt a successful project to similar context. For instance, if we have a successful project in the south of Mexico, for instance, and we have another project to implement in the north of Guatemala, for instance, we're going to look for some similarities, and hence we have the same similarities. We can try to adapt the successful case of Mexico and Guatemala, for instance, but also we have to notice the difference because they are not going to be the same. And also we have the opportunity to improve renewable energy project implementation, like through lesson learned and best practices, we can improve the process of implementation. So with this, you are going to accelerate the process with practical examples, and also mitigate risk and avoid unnecessary results, avoid unwanted costs, and avoid accident, for instance. And lastly, we can see that sharing best practice, it is a good way to get committed, to get involved. So this will enable also to develop key strategies, valuable insights, effective approaches, and a continuous improvement of the process that we have set. And this will allow us to bring innovative solutions that will help also to accelerate the process. So now, once we know the what, and we know that we have to get ourselves involved and set goals. So it is important to know how we will address this optimization. So we have many types of solutions. We have technological solutions, for instance. We have to reduce losses. We have to drastically reduce the losses. It can be losses due to, it can be heat loss and transportation and the transmission process and distribution. It can be losses due to switching and the converters, like and inverters and rectifiers and DC-DC converters, for instance, because in the process of integration and the process of integrating the renewable energy sources into the grid, we need an energy conversion system. And in this energy conversion system, we have losses. So with technological innovation, we have the possibility to reduce these losses. So this will help us to increase the share of renewable energy sources. And also, we have to address some technical issues due to THD. The THD or the rate of harmonic distortion. And through researches, we have seen that when the THD is high, we have an energy efficiency that is a little bit low. But when we try to reduce the THD, the energy efficiency is getting increased. And also, we have the possibility of hybridization, like mix together various type of sources. For instance, we can increase the contribution of the renewable sources when we mix, for instance, geothermal with solar, geothermal with wind, for instance. So it is sometimes better when we have a mix of renewable energy sources than one we are considering only one. And this will be possible through control system enhancement. For instance, we can improve the MPPT technique, we can improve the control of converters, the control of rectifiers, and closed loop or an open loop in order to increase the efficiency of energy conversion system that are important in the process of integrating the renewable energy sources. Also, we can consider some grid side solution. So in the grid side solution, it is important to address the problem that are related to the grid. For instance, we can try some new approaches, like, for instance, bring some new things, bring some new technologies into the grid that are related to data management, to communication, for instance, in order to increase the type of services that the operators are giving. So, for instance, we can consider the grid flexibility. The grid flexibility will help a lot because grid flexibility refers to the capability that a power system has in order to maintain or to alleviate any imbalance between the load and the generation, or it helps us to maintain the balance between generation and the load during uncertainty. So this result in an increase of the efficiency of the grid, an increase in the resilience, and also it helps us to improve the integration of valuable renewables into the grid. Also, we have the load management. So the load management, it's like a temporary shift in the electricity demand. So it helps also. So it is mainly scheduling loads in order to reduce outages and understand the peak load demanded nationally and within a geographic hierarchy for operational purposes. So this helps us to give a better services and the grid side. Also, we can consider the smart grid technology. Remember that the smart grid is an electrical grid that can intelligently integrate the action of all of the user or all of the component that we have, like the consumers, the operators, the providers, so they all can communicate because the smart grid, there are infrastructure that provide a two-way communication between utility provider and consumers and also operators. So this can help to increase drastically the integration of renewable energy sources. And also we have to consider the smart buildings, for instance. A smart building is a building that is communicating data about heating, cooling, for instance, lighting, and other part like access to this building, the security of the building, for instance, and it can be controlled remotely. So it is easier to control the energy consumption of such building than normal building. Also, we have to consider eco-friendly building. Eco-friendly building, it is when we and instead of using energy for cooling, for instance, or for heating, so we can take advantage of natural ventilation. We can take advantage of natural lighting in order to reduce the energy consumption at the same time. So this is an eco-friendly building. And now we can address some solutions that are related to energy storage. We have seen in some previous classes that energy storage can bring a huge solution in the process of integrating renewable energy. So the energy storage solution can help us to deal with variabilities, to deal with unpredictabilities. It can help us to provide some ancillary services, energy arbitrage. So we have a lot of things that we can do with the storage. And also, we can have a kind of variation in the type of solution that we will bring depending on the location of the storage system. And also we can go for hybridization. For instance, we can mix several types of energy storage system, like we can mix batteries with hydro pumping. We can mix hydro pumping with flywheel. There is a lot of mix that we can do in order to bring a better solution. It can be in order to bring high power density services. It can be in order to bring high energy services, and also the advances in energy management system and also in battery management system help us to increase the lifetime of batteries and also to use the batteries in a better condition in order to reduce the stress on energy storage system. So if it lasts longer in a better condition, so This will provide more reliability to our system, more sustainability to our system. So this is a way to improve the integration of renewable energy sources, because the energy storage solution are a good backup for renewables. So now, after addressing the technical solutions, so it is important to consider the guidelines. So, because it is not only knowing the information and get themselves involved, set goals, it is also important to respect some regulatory guidelines, some policies. So it is important when implementing renewable energy project, it is important to consider standards and norms that are available in a given area, in a given country. It is important to consider some frameworks for policy measures, for regulation, for instance. And also other things that we can consider some framework that are set, or we can go for this, for some frameworks for subvention and investment plan in renewable energy project. So it is important to encourage the investors to go for renewables in order to increase the renewable fraction, and at the same time to decrease the dependence on fossil fuel. So in this, we will be able to reduce drastically the greenhouse gas emission, the CO2 emission. And also there is a thing that is very nice. It is the feed-in tariffs. The feed-in tariffs enable everybody to be a producer. So you are the consumer, you can also be a producer at the same time. You can be a provider. So if you have a system at home, so the system can be interconnected to the grid. For instance, I can have a solar system interconnected to the grid. So when my load is so high that I'm using all the energy produced by my system, so the extra, I will take it from the grid. But when I'm not losing all the, when I'm not using all the energy produced by my system, so the extra, I can sell it to the operators. So this is a way to increase the interest in implementing renewable energy project, and also to have a decentralized system where we can have various providers, and at the same time, the people will have an extra income. But this is a fixed tariff. And also we can go for renewable portfolio standards and incentive for the promotion of renewable energy deployment, and also address social and environmental management program in order to consider those concerns in our project. Because sometimes I already told you, sometimes projects are getting slowed or blocked due to lack in environmental and social impact assessment. So it is important to have a program for environmental and social management. Also, we have to consider health and safety measures and the implementation of renewable projects. So this is important in whatever the project, whatever the energy project. But we highlight this in renewable energy project in order to avoid the unwanted issues, in order to avoid accident, so that this problem will not be linked to the renewable energy implementation program. So we have to consider local, regional, and international agreements and renewable energy legislation. So all of this will help to support the process of optimization of our renewable energy sources. So we have to integrate all of this in the process of integration. Also, it is important that when implementing a renewable energy project to get local community involved. And it is important to invite more stakeholders, in the process, like funders, developers, young people, students, local community, because everyone has something to bring in the process. For instance, we have seen that everyone can be a producer. So the consumers can also be producers. That's why we come up with this concept of prosumers. It is a word in this word we can see production and consumption, producer and consumers. And it is important to go for strategies for building public support, promotion of local ownership of renewable energy, renewable energy project. I have the possibility to participate in a project in the north of Haiti where people was very happy to get themselves involved in a renewable energy project where we had to build a hybrid system based on solar for 3 mini-grids in the framework of rural electrification. So it was very nice to see how people were very happy to propose themselves in order to work, in order to contribute for security measures. So they were very involved in the project, and it was a very successful project. And also can go for awareness campaign in order to invite more people to get themselves involved, invite students, and to have students in research field and fields of studies related to sustainability, related to renewable energy integration, social and impact assessment, and the framework of renewable energy project implementation, and also sharing success stories and example. This will be very interesting and fruitful for the stakeholders. So this will help other stakeholders to get involved to address this concern. So the process of optimizing the renewable energy integration is easy to understand. First of all, we have to get informed about what it is. It is about increasing the renewable energy sources integration into the grid because they can help us, they can help the grid with a lot of technical issues, and at the same time, they will help to reduce fossil fuel consumption, and at the same time to reduce CO2 emission, greenhouse gas emission. So it is a way to address global warming concerns. And once we get informed, we have to get ourselves involved in the process. Like we can be a researcher, we can be investor, we can be it can be the local community that is getting involved in renewable energy project, for instance. And then it is important to set goals. It is important to set goals or to adopt goals that are already set in order to know where we are going. And then once we have this information, we have to share the information and invite people to get themselves involved, invite people in research and development field, invite people in order to increase the innovative solutions and the technical innovation. And also, once we do that, we can start acting. When acting, I'm talking about getting themselves involved in renewable energy project or share information, making classes, conferences, or things like what we are doing what we are doing now. And after, we'll have to monitor the progress in order to see if we are on time, if we are on track, if we are in scope and if we are in budget. So thank you so much. If you have a question, so we are going to make a kind of a conversation about that. So thank you. I don't know why, but Mr. Rassen, I don't hear you.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I thank you very much, Engineer Robenson Jean, for your uh, awesome presentation on this topic closely related to United Nations Sustainable Goal number 7, to have clean and available energy for
Yes.
everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank each and every one of you as well for your attendance. And like Robinson just pointed it out, this is now your time to ask questions. So the floor is yours at this time. You may remove the PowerPoint, Robinson, so that we can see all the faces and eventually the hands.
Okay.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, you can see the references that Robinson is uh, projecting onto the screen right now for you. But
Yes, because
so
Mr. Mbasam asked me to share the references.
yes, but again, what I would like to add real quick is the entire presentation, the PDF document, ladies and gentlemen, will be available within your student portal if those portals are currently active. And
Obviously.
whatever we get at this point from Robenson Jean will be available to you. So let's now take advantage of the few minutes we have left to ask questions and give Robinson an opportunity to address
Okay.
those questions.
I see a question